The forest was alive with strange sounds. Rain dripped from giant leaves. Wind moved through branches that glowed with soft blue light. And somewhere in the darkness, things were clicking. Yuna moved carefully between the trees. Her boots sank into wet ground with each step. Taiho walked beside her, his thermal scanner held up to his eyes. The device could see heat through darkness and rain. It was their only hope of finding 3 small children in this enormous forest. "Anything?" Yuna whispered. "Small heat signatures everywhere," Taiho replied. "Animals, birds, insects, but nothing the right size for Velothi cubs." The clicking sound came again. It was far away, but Yuna knew what it meant. The Shrikes were using echolocation. They were hunting too. "We need to move faster," she said. They pushed deeper into the forest. The trees grew taller and closer together. The bioluminescent plants gave enough light to see, but also created shadows that moved and danced. Every shadow could be a Shrike waiting to attack. Taiho grabbed Yuna's arm suddenly. "Wait, look at this." He pointed at the muddy ground. In the soft earth, there were footprints, small footprints. 3 sets of them. The cubs. Yuna breathed. They came this way. The footprints led toward a rocky area where the ground rose up in dark cliffs. Yuna remembered from her surveys that there were caves in those cliffs. Smart children. They were looking for somewhere to hide. "They are heading for the cave system," Taiho said. "Good instincts, or desperate fear," Yuna replied. "Let us follow quickly." They ran now, following the trail. The footprints told a story. At first, the children had been running close together. Then the prints became spread out. One child was slower than the others. Smaller prints, pressing deeper into the mud. This one was struggling. Yuna found something caught on a low branch. A piece of fabric. It was soft and silver, the same color as Velothi fur. One of the cubs had torn their clothing running through the forest. "They are scared," she said softly. "They are so scared." Taiho put a hand on her shoulder. "We will find them." A new sound made them both freeze. Not clicking this time. Footsteps. Fast footsteps coming from behind them. Taiho spun around, his weapon raised. The beam of his flashlight cut through the rain and landed on a familiar face. Keth stood there, breathing hard. The young Velothi had followed them into the forest. "What are you doing here?" Yuna demanded. "It is dangerous." Keth's eyes were still full of distrust, but there was something else there too. Determination. "Those are my sister's children. I could not stay behind while strangers searched for them." "We are trying to help," Taiho said. "I know." Keth looked uncomfortable saying those words. "I still do not trust humans, but I know this forest. I know where the cubs would go. I know paths that are faster." Yuna studied his face. She could see how hard it was for him to be near them. Every muscle in his body was tense. His instincts were screaming at him to run from these predators. But he was fighting those instincts for his family. "Show us the way," she said. Keth nodded and moved past them. He was fast and quiet, his hooved feet finding solid ground where Yuna saw only mud. The Velothi were built for this forest. They had lived here for thousands of years. As they moved, Yuna spoke to Taiho in low tones. "Do you think they will ever accept us, the Velothi?" Taiho shrugged. "Would you trust something that looked like your worst nightmare? We are not nightmares. We are people. To them, we are predators. We have eyes that face forward for hunting. We have hands that grip and grab. We eat meat without cooking it sometimes. Everything about us says danger." He paused. "And honestly, they are not wrong. Humans can be very dangerous." Yuna thought about this. She thought about human history. Wars and violence and cruelty, but also kindness and sacrifice and love. Humans were complicated creatures. "We can be dangerous for them too," she said. "Dangerous to anything that threatens them." Keth suddenly stopped. He raised one hand for silence. His large ears moved, catching sounds that human ears could not hear. "Shrikes," he whispered. "Close. Maybe 300 meters. "How many?" Taiho asked. "A full pack. 6 adults." 6 shrikes. Yuna felt cold fear wash through her. One shrike was dangerous enough to kill a grown human. 6 working together could tear apart a small army. But she pushed the fear down. Those children were still out there. "Can we go around them?" she asked. Keth shook his head. "They are between us and the caves. They know where the cubs are going too. They are smart. Very smart." The clicking grew louder. The shrikes were communicating, coordinating their hunt. They had probably already sensed the humans in Keth. New scents in their territory. "We cannot stop now," Yuna said. "Every second we wait, those children are in more danger." Keth stared at her. "You would walk towards 6 shrikes? Are you insane?" "Maybe, but I am not leaving children to die." She started walking again. After a moment, Taiho followed. And after another moment, Keth followed too. They moved through the forest as quietly as possible. The clicking sounds moved around them, sometimes left, sometimes right. The shrikes knew they were there. They were circling, testing, deciding whether to attack. Yuna tried not to think about the blade-like arms, the razor teeth, the way shrikes could move faster than the eye could follow. Finally, they reached the base of the cliffs. Dark cave openings dotted the rock face like hollow eyes. Water ran down the stone in small waterfalls. "Which cave?" Taiho asked. Keth pointed to one opening higher than the others. "That one. We used to play there as children. It goes deep into the rock. If the cubs remembered our family stories, they would go there." They started climbing. The rock was wet and slippery, but Keth moved like this was his home. Because it was. This was his world, his forest, his childhood. They were halfway up when a new sound came from the caves above. A scream. High and terrified. A child's scream. Then another voice, crying out in Velothi language. Yuna did not understand the words, but she understood the meaning. "Help. Please help." "No," Keth gasped. They climbed faster. Yuna's hand scraped against sharp rock. Blood ran down her fingers, but she did not stop. She could not stop. They reached the cave opening and looked inside. The 3 cubs were there. 2 older ones and 1 smaller. They had pressed themselves against the back wall of the cave. Their silver fur was wet and dirty. Their eyes were huge with terror, and between them and the exit, 6 dark shapes moved in the shadows. 6 shrikes, their blade arms catching the faint light. Their clicking filled the cave with horrible sound. The pack had found them first. The storm hit Verithfor like an angry god. Purple lightning cracked across the sky, and the wind screamed through the alien trees. The whole forest glowed with strange light as the electromagnetic storm made every plant shine bright blue, and green. Yuna pressed her back against the wall of the small research shelter. The metal walls shook with each thunder blast. Rain hit the roof so hard it sounded like bullets. She looked at her partner Taiho, who sat across from her checking his equipment. "This is a bad one," Taiho said. He was a tall man with strong shoulders and calm eyes. Nothing seemed to scare him much. "Communications are completely dead. We cannot reach the main base." Yuna nodded. She was smaller than Taiho, with quick hands and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had spent 3 years studying the wildlife of this planet. She knew its dangers well. The storm should pass in a few hours. "We just need to wait." But waiting became impossible. A sound cut through the storm noise. It was high and filled with fear. Yuna sat up straight. "Did you hear that?" Taiho was already on his feet. He moved to the door and opened a small viewing panel. Through the thick rain, they could see lights in the distance. The Velothi settlement was only 2 kilometers away. Those lights were moving in strange patterns. Wrong patterns. Something is happening there, Taiho said. The Velothi were the native intelligent species of this planet. They looked like tall deer that walked on 2 legs. Their fur was silver and gold, and their eyes were large and gentle. Humanity had made first contact with them only 8 months ago. The relationship was still new and fragile. The Velothi did not trust humans. Yuna understood why. Humans had forward-facing eyes like hunters. They had teeth that could tear meat. They moved with a confidence that prey species found terrifying. To the Velothi, humans looked like the monsters from their oldest nightmares. Another scream came from the settlement. This one was clearer. It was definitely a Velothi voice, and it was definitely afraid. "We should stay here," Taiho said. His voice was careful. "Protocol says we do not interfere with local situations, and they do not want our help." Yuna was already putting on her weather gear. "Children live in that settlement, Taiho," I heard a child scream. "Yuna, they are scared of us. We might make things worse." She stopped and looked at him. Her eyes were hard. "I am not going to sit here and listen to children die. Are you coming or not?" Taiho sighed. He grabbed his own gear and his weapon. "You are going to get us both killed one day." They stepped out into the storm. The rain was so heavy that Yuna could barely see. Each step was a fight against wind that tried to push her backward. The ground had turned to mud that grabbed at her boots. Lightning flashed every few seconds, turning the world white and purple. But they kept moving forward. When they reached the settlement, Yuna's heart sank. The beautiful wooden structures were damaged. Some were burning despite the rain. Velothi ran in all directions, their silver fur dark with mud, and something that looked like blood. In the center of the chaos stood an old Velothi female. Her fur was white with age, and she wore the marks of an elder. She was shouting orders, trying to create calm in the middle of fear. Yuna ran to her. "Elder, what happened? How can we help?" The old Velothi turned. When she saw Yuna's human face, she stepped back. Fear flashed in her large eyes. But then she seemed to recognize Yuna from previous visits. Her name was Rilla, and she was the leader of this settlement. "The Shrikes," Rilla said. Her voice shook. "They attacked during the storm. Our defenses were down because of the lightning. They came so fast." Yuna knew about the Shrikes. They were the apex predators of this planet. Pack hunters with blade-like arms and the ability to see through sound. They were smart, fast, and deadly. Most creatures ran when they heard the clicking sound of Shrike echolocation. "Are your people safe now?" Taiho asked. He was scanning the area, his hand on his weapon. Rilla made a sound of pure pain. It was a mother's sound. "My grandchildren." 3 cubs. They ran when the attack started. They ran into the forest. They have not come back. Yuna felt something cold grip her heart. "How long ago?" "Before you arrived. Maybe 30 minutes. 30 minutes in that storm. 30 minutes with Shrikes hunting." Yuna looked at the dark forest. Rain fell like a curtain between the settlement and the trees. Somewhere out there, 3 small children were alone and afraid. "I will find them," Yuna said. Rilla stared at her. "You? A human?" "Yes. The Shrikes will hunt you too. They will smell your predator blood. To them, you are competition. They will try to kill you first." Yuna smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Good. That means they will chase me instead of the children." A young male Velothi pushed through the crowd. His fur was darker than the others, and his eyes were filled with anger. "You cannot trust her," he shouted. "She is a human. Look at her eyes. She is a predator like the Shrikes. Maybe she will eat the cubs herself." "Keth," Rilla snapped. "Be silent. But Keth did not stop. He pointed at Una with a shaking finger. We all know what humans are. Deathworlders. They come from a planet that kills everything. They eat flesh. They hunt for sport. Why would one of them help our children? Una stepped closer to Keth. She did not break eye contact. The young Velothi tried to hold her gaze, but after a few seconds, he looked away. He could not help it. Every instinct in his body told him she was dangerous. You are right about one thing, Una said quietly. I am a predator, but I am not hunting your children. I am going to protect them. And if anything tries to hurt them, I will show it exactly what a human predator can do. She turned and walked toward the forest. Teho caught up with her at the tree line. The rain was still falling hard, but the lightning was moving away. Soon they would be in complete darkness. You know, this is probably a death mission, Teho said. Yes, and you are still going. Una thought about a small boy with a big smile. A boy who had called her sister. A boy who had died in a colony attack when she was too far away to save him. She had been too far away for 6 years, and the guilt never left her. I cannot save everyone, she said, but I can try to save these 3. They stepped into the dark forest together. Behind them, the Velothi watched with wide, frightened eyes. They had never seen a human walk toward danger instead of away from it. And somewhere deep in those dark trees, a pack of shrikes was hunting. They had already tasted blood tonight. They wanted more. The hunt was on. The cave smelled like fear. Una could taste it in the air, thick and sour. The 3 cubs huddled against the back wall, their small bodies shaking. The oldest one, a female cub, had pushed the other 2 behind her. She was trying to be brave, but tears ran down her face. The 6 shrikes moved slowly across the cave floor. They were in no hurry. They had cornered their prey. The clicking sounds they made bounced off the stone walls, creating a terrible echo that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Una studied the creatures. She had seen images and videos during her training, but nothing prepared her for seeing them in person. Each shrike was about 2 meters tall, with a thin body covered in dark scales. Their arms ended in curved blades of bone, sharp enough to cut through metal. Their faces had no eyes, only smooth plates of armor, but she knew they could see through sound. Every click painted a perfect picture of the world around them. Keth stood frozen beside her. His entire body had locked up. He was not breathing. His eyes were fixed on the monsters before him, and Una could see that his mind had gone somewhere else. This was what prey did when faced with death. They froze in hope to become invisible. Teho was calculating. She could see him counting the shrikes, measuring the distance to the cubs, checking his weapon. His face was calm, but his jaw was tight. He knew the math. 6 against 2 humans and 1 paralyzed Velothi. The numbers were very bad. The alpha shrike moved forward. It was larger than the others, with deeper scars across its armored face. It had survived many fights. It tilted its head toward the cubs and made a low clicking sound. Testing. Waiting. The smallest cub whimpered. Something inside Una cracked open. It was not fear. It was something older and hotter. Something that had been sleeping inside her since her brother died 6 years ago. Something that woke up now with burning eyes and bared teeth. She started walking forward. Una, Teho hissed. What are you doing? She did not answer. She kept walking straight toward the pack of apex predators. Her boots made soft sounds on the stone floor. The shrikes noticed her immediately. Their heads turned. Their clicking increased. The alpha faced her directly. Its blade arms lifted slightly, ready to strike. Una stopped between the shrikes and the cubs. She planted her feet. She squared her shoulders. And then she did something that no prey creature would ever do. She looked the alpha straight. In its eyeless face and snarled dot, it was not a human sound. It came from somewhere deep in her chest, raw and primal. Her lips pulled back to show her teeth. Her hands curled into fists. Every part of her body sent the same message. I am not prey. I am a threat. I will hurt you. The Alpha hesitated. The other Shrikes stopped moving. Their clicking became confused, uncertain. They had never encountered anything like this before. Every creature on this planet ran from them. Every creature showed fear, showed weakness, showed the behavior of prey. This strange soft creature was not running. It was not afraid. It was standing in their path, like it belonged there. Like it was the predator here. Yuna took another step forward. Come on, she growled. You want to eat those children? You go through me first. The Alpha clicked rapidly at its pack. Yuna did not understand the language, but she understood the confusion. What is this thing? Why is it not running? Is it dangerous? Yuna, Taiho said again. He had moved up behind her, his weapon drawn. This is insane. Get the cubs out, she said quietly. When they focus on me, grab the cubs and run. I am not leaving you. That is an order. Taiho laughed, but there was no humor in it. You cannot give me orders. We have the same rank. Despite everything, Yuna felt a small smile touch her lips. Then stay and fight with me, you stubborn fool. Behind them, Keth was slowly breaking free from his frozen state. He saw what the humans were doing. They were putting themselves between the predators and his family. They were using their bodies as shields. No prey species did that. Ever. The Alpha Shrike made its decision. It lunged forward with terrifying speed, its blade arms slashing toward Yuna's neck. She had been waiting for this. Yuna dropped low and rolled to the side. The blade whistled over her head, close enough to cut some of her hair. She came up with her knife in her hand and slashed at the creature's leg. The blade found a gap in the scales and cut deep. The Alpha screamed. It was a horrible sound, like metal tearing. Taiho opened fire. His weapon sent bright bolts of energy into the pack. The shots would not kill the Shrikes, but they would hurt them and confuse their echolocation. Light exploded through the cave, turning the shadows into a chaotic mess. The Shrikes scattered and regrouped. They were smart enough to know this fight would not be easy, but they were also hungry, and there was food in this cave. Young, soft food that could not fight back. Get the cubs. Yuna shouted at Keth. The young Velasi finally moved. He ran along the cave wall, using the chaos as cover. The cubs saw him coming and reached out their small hands. Uncle Keth. The oldest one cried, Come with me. Keth grabbed the smallest cub and pushed the others toward a narrow crack in the wall. This way. There is a back passage. Two Shrikes turned toward the fleeing Velothi. Easy prey trying to escape. Their instincts took over, and they leaped after the cubs. Yuna intercepted the first one. She threw herself into its path and jammed her knife into its shoulder joint. The creature howled and struck at her with its other arm. The blade caught her side, cutting through her jacket and drawing blood. Pain exploded through her body, but she did not fall. She could not fall. Not yet. Taiho took down the second Shrike with a point-blank shot to its face. The creature stumbled back, its echolocation scrambled by the energy burst. Keth and the cubs disappeared into the narrow crack. Too small for Shrikes to follow. Safe. They were safe. But Yuna and Taiho were not. The remaining four Shrikes circled them now. The Alpha's leg was bleeding, but its rage was burning. It clicked orders to its pack. The sound was sharp and angry. They are going to rush us, Taiho said. His weapon was almost out of power. All at once, Yuna's side was bleeding badly. Each breath hurt, but she raised her knife and bared her teeth again. Then we make them pay for every bite. The Alpha lifted its blade arms high. The attack was coming. Yuna felt no fear now, only a strange calm. She thought about her brother and about the 3 cubs who would live because she was here. Whatever happened next, she had done something that mattered. The Alpha screamed and charged. Yuna screamed back, and then there was only blood and fire, and the sound of battle echoing off ancient stone walls. The Alpha hit Yuna like a freight train. She flew backward and crashed into the cave wall. Stars exploded in her vision. But before the creature could strike again, Taiho was there, driving his shoulder into its side and forcing it away from her. "Get up," he shouted. "On your feet." Yuna forced her body to move. Her side was on fire with pain. Blood soaked through her jacket and dripped onto the stone floor. But she had been hurt before. She had kept fighting before. This was not new. 2 shrikes came at her together. Their blade arms moved in perfect coordination, trying to trap her between them. She ducked under one slash and jumped over another, then drove her knife into the nearest creature's chest. The blade went deep, but not deep enough to kill. The shrike screamed and backhanded her across the face. The world spun. Yuna hit the ground hard. When she opened her eyes, she saw her knife lying 5 meters away. Too far to reach. The injured shrike loomed over her, clicking with rage. It raised its blade arm for the killing blow. A rock smashed into its head. Keth stood at the narrow passage entrance, another rock already in his hand. His fur was standing straight up with fear, but his arm was steady. "Over here, you ugly beast." The shrike turned toward this new threat. Prey that fights back. Strange. Confusing. Yuna scrambled across the floor and grabbed her knife. She spun and slashed at the shrike's leg tendons. The creature fell forward with a horrible shriek. Taiho had his own problems. 3 shrikes surrounded him, and his weapon was dead. He had thrown it aside and pulled out his combat knife. He moved like a dancer, like a shadow, always 1 step ahead of the blades. But even the best fighter could not dodge forever. A blade caught his arm, opening a deep cut from shoulder to elbow. He grunted but did not stop moving. Another blade sliced his thigh. He was bleeding from 6 different wounds now. "Taiho." Yuna ran toward him. "Stay back." He blocked 1 strike with his forearm, letting the blade cut to the bone so he could get inside the shrike's guard. His knife found the creature's throat. Hot blood sprayed his face as the monster fell. 2 down. 4 remaining. The Alpha screamed commands. The pack was losing, and it knew something had to change. The clicking became faster, more urgent. Yuna understood. They are calling for help. More shrikes are coming. Taiho looked at her. His face was pale from blood loss. "How long?" "I do not know. Minutes, maybe." They had minutes to finish this fight, or they would die here. Yuna pulled something from her belt. Emergency flares. Meant for signaling rescue ships. She had almost forgotten about them in the chaos. "Light and noise," she said. "It will confuse their echolocation." "Do it." She struck the first flare. Brilliant red light exploded through the cave, painting the walls in the color of blood. The shrikes recoiled, their clicking becoming wild and confused. They could not see properly. Their sonar was overloaded with noise. Taiho moved while they were blind. He hit the nearest shrike with everything he had, driving his knife into its skull again and again until it stopped moving. 3 down. Yuna lit another flare and threw it at the Alpha. The creature screamed as the burning chemicals hit its face. It swung wildly, its blades cutting through empty air. She did not waste the chance. She ran in close, too close for the long blade arms to work effectively, and stabbed upward into the Alpha's belly. The knife went in deep. She twisted it, feeling horrible things tear inside the creature's body. The Alpha grabbed her with its other arm and threw her against the ceiling. She hit the stone hard and fell to the ground, unable to breathe. Something was broken inside her. maybe ribs, maybe more, but the alpha was dying. It stood over her, swaying, dark blood pouring from its gut. It raised its blade arm one final time. No! Keth ran from his hiding place and tackled the alpha's legs. The Velothi bounced off the creature like hitting a tree, but it was enough. The blade missed Yuna by centimeters. The alpha turned its rage on Keth. It grabbed the young Velothi by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Yuna forced herself up. Her body screamed in protest. She could barely see, but she could see Keth choking. She could see his legs kicking in empty air. She grabbed the dying flare and shoved it into the wound she had made in the alphas. Belly. Fire and light exploded. Inside the creature, the alpha dropped Keth and stumbled backward. It made sounds that Yuna would hear in her nightmares forever. Then it fell and did not move again. 4 down. 2 remaining. The last 2 shrikes looked at the bodies of their pack. They looked at the blood-covered humans and the Velothi on the ground. Their clicking became high and fast. Not the sound of hunters. The sound of fear. Yuna stood on shaking legs. Blood ran down her face. Her left arm hung useless at her side. Every breath felt like fire. But she was still standing. She bared her teeth at the remaining shrikes and roared. It was not a word. It was pure sound, pure rage, pure warning. It echoed through the cave like thunder. It said, "I am still here. I am still fighting. Come and die." The 2 shrikes ran. They fled through the cave entrance and disappeared into the storm. Their clicking faded into the distance as they retreated into the forest. Away from this nightmare. Away from these monsters that wore soft flesh but fought like demons. Silence fell. Yuna stood for 3 more seconds. Then her legs gave out and she collapsed. The cave floor was cold against her cheek. She could see Taiho crawling toward her, his face twisted with worry. She could see Keth sitting up slowly, rubbing his bruised throat. She could hear small voices from the narrow passage. The cubs, asking if it was safe. Asking what happened. "Yuna." Taiho reached her side. "Stay awake. Do you hear me? Stay awake." She tried to respond, but her mouth would not work. "She saved us." Keth's voice was shaking. "The humans saved us all." Small feet appeared in Yuna's fading vision. The cubs had come out of the passage. 3 small faces looked down at her. They were crying. The smallest cub, a little male with silver fur, knelt beside her. His tiny hand touched her bloody cheek. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for not letting the monsters get us." Yuna smiled. Or tried to. Then darkness took her, and she felt nothing more. Yuna woke to the smell of flowers. She opened her eyes slowly, blinking against soft light. She was lying on something comfortable. A bed, but not a human bed. The material was woven from plant fibers and shaped like a gentle curve. Velothi design. Her whole body hurt. She tried to move her arm and gasped at the sharp pain. Bandages covered her from shoulder to wrist. More bandages wrapped around her chest. Her side felt strange, numb, and tight. "Do not move." The voice was soft and kind. An old female Velothi sat beside her bed. Rilla, the elder from the settlement. Her silver fur seemed to glow in the gentle light of the healing hall. "Where?" Yuna's voice was rough. "Where am I?" "You are safe. You are in our village, in the healing hall." Rilla lifted a cup of water to Yuna's lips. "Drink slowly." The water was cool and sweet. Yuna had never tasted anything so wonderful. "How long?" she asked. 2 days. Your friend Taiho has been waiting outside the entire time. We had to force him to eat." Rilla smiled slightly. "He is very stubborn, that one. He is a good man." Yuna closed her eyes, remembering. The cave, the blood, the screaming, the children. Are they? They are alive because of you. Rilla's voice broke slightly. My grandchildren are alive because you walked into darkness for them. The door opened and small feet pattered across the floor. 3 young Velothi rushed to Yuna's bedside. Miru, Soli, and Bren, the cubs from the cave. Their faces were clean now, their fur brushed and shining. You are awake. The smallest one, Bren, bounced with joy. Grandmother, she's awake. Miru, the oldest, was more serious. She stood very straight and touched her forehead with her hand. Yuna recognized it as a Velothi sign of deep respect. You stood between us and death, Miru said. Her voice was formal, but her eyes were full of warmth. You bled for us. You are our guardian now. Always. Soli, the middle child, held up a piece of paper. I made you a picture. Yuna took the drawing with her good hand. It showed a figure standing in front of smaller figures. The figure had sharp teeth and wild hair and arms spread wide. It looked fierce and strange and wonderful. That is you, Soli explained. That is you protecting us from the monsters. Something tight formed in Yuna's throat. It is beautiful. Thank you. The door opened again. Taiho walked in, his arm in a sling and fresh scars on his face. Behind him came Keth, looking uncomfortable but determined. You are a hard woman to kill, Taiho said with a tired grin. The doctors say you have 3 broken ribs, a punctured lung, and you lost enough blood to fill a bucket. But apparently, you will be fine in a few weeks. I feel like I was run over by a transport ship. You look like it too. Yuna laughed, then winced at the pain. Do not make me laugh. It hurts, Keth stepped forward. He did not meet her eyes directly. His hands fidgeted at his sides. I need to speak with you. The room fell quiet. Keth took a deep breath. When you first came to our village, I wanted you gone. I told everyone you were dangerous, that your kind were monsters pretending to be people. He paused. I was wrong. Keth, Yuna started. No, let me finish. He finally looked at her. I watched you walk towards 6 shrikes to save children that were not yours. I watched you bleed and burn and refuse to fall. You could have run. You could have left my family to die, and no one would have blamed you. His voice shook. But you stayed. You fought. You nearly died for them. He touched his forehead the same way Miru had. I do not understand humans. I probably never will. But I know what I saw in that cave. I saw a protector. I saw someone willing to die for others. He straightened. I will tell everyone what you did. Every Velothi on this planet will know. That is not necessary, Yuna said quietly. It is necessary. For too long, we've called your kind monsters. We were wrong about what kind of monsters you are. Keth almost smiled. You are the kind of monsters that fight for others, that protect the weak, that stand in the darkness so children do not have to. Rilla stood and addressed the room. The council has made a decision. For the first time in our history, we are offering an alliance with another species. The humans have proven themselves to us. She looked at Yuna. You have proven yourselves. The door opened one more time. More Velothi entered the healing hall. Dozens of them, then hundreds. They filled the room and spilled out into the hallway. Men, women, children, elders. An entire village had come to see her dot. They began to sing. Yuna did not understand the words, but she understood the feeling. It was gratitude. It was welcome. It was the sound of fear turning into trust. When the song ended, Rilla spoke again. Among our people, those who risk their lives for others receive a name, a title that is greater than any other. She reached out and took Yuna's hand gently. From this day forward, you are Velothkor. It means guardian of the small. It is a name that has not been given to an outsider in 5,000 years. Yuna looked at the drawing in her hand, at the figure with the sharp teeth and the protective stance, at the children hiding behind its spread arms. She thought about her brother, about the day she was too far away to save him, about 6 years of guilt and grief, and wishing she could go back in time. She could never go back. She could never save him, but she had saved 3 children 2 nights ago. 3 small lives that would continue because she had chosen to stand in front of monsters. And maybe, somehow, that was enough. "Thank you," she whispered. "I will try to deserve it." Taiho sat beside her bed and squeezed her shoulder. The cubs climbed onto the edge of her bed, careful not to hurt her. Keth stood watching with something new in his eyes. Outside, the sun was rising over the alien forest. The storm had passed. The world was quiet and clean and full of possibility. Humanity had come to the stars looking for new worlds. They had found something more important instead. They had found a purpose, not as conquerors, not as hunters, not as the monsters that other species feared, but as guardians, protectors, the kind of predators that stood between the innocent and the darkness. Yuna closed her eyes and let herself rest. For the first time in 6 years, the guilt felt a little lighter. She was Velothkor now, guardian of the small, and she had finally found her way home.